Hello everyone, this is Faith at Faith and Books. How are you doing? I'm just sitting in my garage. I have to leave in a few minutes, but I do have a couple minutes. And so I thought I would make a review of this book, The Dark is Rising by Susan Cooper, which is a second in her The Dark is Rising series that I was excited to read. I'm trying to kind of read my shelves a little bit this year. And I had bought this whole series on the recommendation of Susan Weisbauer for I think my oldest daughter maybe, years ago, and nobody ever read it. And so I thought that I would try to read them. It's kind of part of Getting Serious About Series, which is a reading challenge going on this year, that I would read it for that, and then once I read it, I could unhaul it. So I read the first one, which I always get the title wrong, so I have to look it up. It was, does it have a list here? And it's dark in this garage. It's getting ready to rain. Over Sea, Under Stone. Okay, that was the first one. It's getting ready to rain, which, by the way, we really need the rain, but I think it's just sprinkling. It keeps doing that. It doesn't actually rain. Where I live, our problem is the opposite. We have too much rain most of the time, but it has not been raining for weeks. So it hasn't really done a good rain in several weeks. So hopefully it will actually rain. Things are drying up, so it's unusual for this area. Anyway, back to this. So unfortunately, there were real problems with this, and I finished reading the whole book, but I will not finish the series. I'm too disgusted with the author, and I don't even think I'm going to unhaul it. I think I'm going to throw it in the trash. Honestly, that's the level of my disgust. And this won the Newbery Award. So people who read all the Newbery books, tell me what you think of this, because I found it just obnoxious in a way. So let's see, how do I explain it? So it's well written, and you really identify with the character Will. And I think J.K. Rowling, is that how you say her name, maybe stole this idea, but he turns 11, and on his 11th birthday, he finds out, he has this mysterious experience. He finds out he's an old one. And he's the seventh son of the seventh son. And so somehow that gives him these magical powers. And he's an old one. Someone, I don't know if they can live forever, or the other old ones are really old and they travel back and forth in time. And he's the one, for some reason, he's the one that has to gather these 6 signs in order to conquer. For now, at first it seems like it's going to be this definitive war against the dark and the light. The old ones are part of the light. But then that turns out at the end that no, there's more conquests that they have to do, I guess, because the series has to continue, right? So first of all, let me explain that I have a troubled history with fantasy anyway. I am very, very picky. And because there's one problem I have with fantasy, it's not that there can't be wonderful, very creative plots and world building, and the writing is evocative and gorgeous. I get all that. For me, it's the kind of all the crazy things that happen throw me off, and I get disoriented. I don't really know what's going on. It's the same reason why I don't like to read thrillers or like those really fast-paced spy novels or something, because so many things are being thrown at me as the reader that I feel off balance, and I cannot follow the plot. Like I struggle to, okay, now why is this happening? What's going on now? What did they already tell us something about that or hint about that before? I just don't get it, and so I wind up just feeling disoriented while I'm reading the book. And the first book, Over Sea, Under Stone, was not like that. It was sort of the kids being sleuths, trying to find the grail, and so it wasn't like there were mysterious elements, but there was no like traveling in time or anything supernatural or anything like that in it. So I enjoyed that one. But this one, it's just poured on. There's just weird thing after weird thing after weird thing, and a new revelation after new revelation to this boy of what's going on, and he's got to learn all this stuff, and he's got to face peril after peril after peril. And it just kept coming. And so like, okay, I don't know, there's something about that kind of, I feel like it's kind of cheap. Like, if you can just make up anything to make it exciting, there's no skill in that. I really have always struggled a little bit with that with fantasy. Now, I do like some fantasy. Like I really love the Lloyd Alexander. He wrote The High King, that whole series, The Black Cauldron. I love that one. That's based on Welsh mythology. This is supposed to be based on Arthurian, I think, just because she's taken the character of Merlin and she uses Merlin. He's one of the old ones. But the thing that really bothered me about this book, I get the fantasies that they build a whole world, and if it's all enclosed, if it's its own world, that's fine with me. It doesn't have to. I might disagree with the principles of the world or whatever that are being built, but this one explicitly rejects Christianity, like just flat out, as you're identifying with this 11-year-old boy who's facing all these perils and quests that he has to go on. You find out that he knows that Christianity is wrong, and that really it's some kind of pagan faith that's the real one, and the old ones know. And the old ones, I don't know what they are. I don't think they're gods, but it's just such an explicit, and it's done. The dark, which is the evil people or the evil powers, are at their highest strength from Christmas through Twelfth Night. Okay, that's when they're at their highest strength for some reason. And that's when this battle is being pitched. And he's this like Anglican choir boy, and he's in there, but he's even talking to the reverend, and he's rejecting the Christianity because he knows that this other pagan religion, which to me is just such a hodgepodge. But what I didn't like about it was that it did that. Like, why would you put in a middle grade book in 1973 when this came out something that, where you're identifying really strongly with this young boy, that he knows that Christianity is wrong, that it's not the true religion? Like, why? To me, there's something so, where could you do that in another religion where you write a book to children and that most of them reading it are going to be, at least nominally Christian, and you put in there that it's wrong, and they're identifying with the one who knows that it's. I just thought it was really underhanded and unnecessary. You can have a whole world without having to pick on a religion, and it really upset me. I feel like I'm not explaining it well now, but it really upset me. So I was getting my old fantasies kind of boring because they just make up one thing after another, and I can't figure out what's going on. That was happening, and then when that happened, I really was struck by it, and I even went and Googled, and people were talking about it, trying to sort of make excuses for it, but I thought it was just awful. And then other things, I'm trying to remember, there were two other things that really bothered me too. Oh yeah, so even the old ones that are the part of the light, they can do evil things. So Merlin, who's like the one that's guiding the boy, he has done something where he's decided that the ends justifies the means, and it causes all this evil. Like, so, but somehow the light's still gonna win, but they have to go, these old ones who can screw up royally and be evil themselves, somehow they're gonna collect these 6 signs. Why 6 signs? There was just a bunch of stuff like that in there that it just didn't make sense to me, and I felt like it didn't have any like moral coherence to it. or ethical coherence to it. And then at one point, Merlin says to the person that he's done horrible things to, you have the right to choose whether you want to die or not. So there's like a right to die kind of thing in here too. So by the time I got to that, I was like, I just don't want anything to do with this series anymore. And I can't believe it won a Newbery. I really can't. So I don't know. I wound up being very disgusted by it, and I'm just gonna toss it. Yeah. So the last two books that I've read, just the nonfiction ones, or not nonfiction, the fiction ones, have been a little bit upsetting to me. The first one, the one that I read in April, was Ricey Man's Steps, which other people in the book group really like, but I found it depressing. So, and then I went to this thinking, oh, this is great. I'm going to enjoy this fantasy like I enjoyed the Black Cauldron and everything. And it was like, whoa, I just didn't like it. So I'm so glad to finally be going back to Hornblower. I'm reading him, and it's just nice. I'm just a historical fiction kind of person, I think. I enjoy that if I want to relax, if I want to read something that's really absorbing. So anyway, so those are just my thoughts on The Dark is Rising. 2 thumbs down. No, not for me. Okay, talk to you later. I hope your reading is going well. Mine is now going well. I'm really liking it. And I also have other things I'm reading that I'm really enjoying too. Well, I don't know if I'm enjoying all of it so much, but I feel like I'm getting educated. I'm really thinking about it, and it's a classic, so it's worthwhile on that level. Plus the writing's beautiful. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking. I need to get going. All right, take care. Bye-bye.